there, Royal Family. How are you? Thank you for rocking with Zion. Tonight, I have a special show for you. Oh my gosh, I have some special people in the house. We're going to have wonderful Dr. Martin Smith. And here beside me is Eric Ramsey. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. And we have some things to talk about with Eric. So we're going to wait till we get some people on here so that we can make it do what it do, right?
Oh, make sure that's Dr. Marvin Smith so we don't get
Oh, Dr. Marvin Smith. Oh my gosh, I messed your whole name. Okay. Well, we have some wonderful things to talk about tonight, and I'm really excited because these great men are doing some great things here, and you definitely need to know about it. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes here, let some people get on, and
there they come.
All right, now come on in here. Come on in. I'm going to talk about some of the projects and so forth that Eric's been working on and some of the wonderful things that has happened in Eric's life just recently.
Very.
And very, I mean, like fresh out of the bakery, okay? And you will definitely want to hear this news, and I'm excited about that. And also just some of the things that he's been through, you know, raised up, what he's some of the things as far as his NFL and what he's went through as that part of his life and the transition in his life and the transformation. Because it's always good to see that when we go through certain things and how God opened doors and how things we didn't see and how a lot of people don't understand walking by faith. We do it every day because I'm sure today the things that's happening in his life and the things that he has or has been doing, he didn't see years ago, but they have come to fruition. So anyway, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that. Okay, Eric. So why don't you start off just telling them a little bit about you. You can start with from the beginning too. I know like you did some things with the NFL and some of your upbringing as well.
Okay. Well, I didn't do a whole lot with the NFL. I actually got blackballed from the NFL because I spoke out about how black athletes are treated at Auburn. And so I guess that kind of led to, you know, my not. I was Colin Kaepernick before Colin Kaepernick was Colin Kaepernick because I spoke out about injustice in college athletics. And it happened to be my university at Auburn. But like you were saying, I overcame that, and you know, through the power of God, I'm doing a whole lot of different things that allow me to go out and make movies that challenge people, make people think, and just make them aware of different things that may have happened in the black community, and how as a people, you know, as blacks, you know, we can overcome so many different things, no matter what's, you know, put out there, you know, or against before us or against us. We, you know, we're powerful people, and we bounce back from anything.
Mm-hmm. And I love, like you said, we do bounce back from anything. And I just want to know where your mindset was, because that's been, you know, what, last year? No, just kidding. You know, these things happen, but in your younger year to actually just have that strength to say, you know what, I'm just going to let them know what's going on. Because today, if we really had that same mentality, if we had that same strength, what you had back then, and say, you know what, I'm not going to let these things happen.
Right.
You know, I'm going to make, you know, stand for something. What was your mindset back then as a young man?
Well, I'm still pretty young now. No, back when I was 18, 19, growing up in the project, well, before I went to college, I grew up in the project in Birmingham, Alabama. I was the middle child of 9 kids, single parent home, you know, mother, you know, raised all of us. And, but I just saw something, well, my grandmother helped me see that, let's say that. My grandmother helped me see something in me that it was something that I realized that I needed to just uproot myself from my environment, and it's just she instilled values in me that just was second to none, and I took them with me, and then I guess the not having a father around, and then I mean that's a lot of things that led to the strength and stuff that I have, but most important, I'll just say, the values and everything that my grandmother instilled in me as a young kid. I've always been, pretty much a Christian. Sometimes, like I was telling you earlier, we all are sinners. I sin, like everyone else, but the values and doing the right thing and wanting to make my life better just based on my circumstances, that just allowed me to just do whatever I need to do at all costs. When you throw something at me, trust me, I'm gonna accept the challenge and just do what I need to do in order to overcome it. And that just has stuck with me all my life. Whenever I tell you, that I'm gonna do something or something's gonna happen, my faith, like you said, we walk by faith and not by sight. The faith that I have has allowed me to do most of the things that I've set out to do.
And I love that, because what I really would like to hone into is for the young men out there, because a lot of things is happening on the earth, as you know, and how it takes to, like we said, grandma. And it's something about those grandmas, especially back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was in the greens or what. But I would tell you, it was something about them instilling that word. I really believe it's because they were praying, grandmothers, and they were instilling the word in us and the truth in us, and for, like you said, you didn't even have your dad there. So it was like you were like the man, in that. And I know I had listened to a couple of your tapes back then, because as you know, Eric, if you tell them just a little bit more, because I'd like to get into what happened, because I love it that he stood up back in this time, because it's going to bring us forward to this interview, but just from the beginnings of him being a man or doing man things at an early age, because not only were you standing up, talking to people of a different color, letting them know I got bills to be paid. I see everybody else getting paid. I want to get some of that money too. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, you was a man too. And at that time, I think you had a son.
Had a young son.
Yes. Got married. I mean, you were making, like he said, he had these Christian values. So just give them a bit about the little situation that happened at Auburn University.
Okay. Well, when I got to Auburn, when I was actually being recruited at Auburn, I heard a lot of my teammates used to say that Auburn didn't care, whether or not you got an education, and they only want you to play football. And so with that being said, I still said, I'm going anyway, because they would offer me a scholarship. I actually wanted to initially go to Alabama, but excuse me, but Alabama didn't recruit me like I thought they should have, and so I went to Auburn, which was just, to me, was just as good a school as Alabama was, because it was up and coming, and but all the stuff that I felt that happened, that people was telling me was happening. Excuse me, it started occurring, and so I started taping the conversation that I've had with different coaches and alumni, and I recorded like 3 or 4 years worth of just anywhere from being called nigger, anywhere from being given money, or feeling like I needed to get my piece of the pie, like a lot of the other players. And one thing that I advocate to a lot of the young people and everything, and I say to anybody who interview me, is that I think that the athletes should be paid, not just because they're a black athlete, but just all athletes should be paid, based on the amount of money that they generate, to the different universities. And Alabama, Auburn, the coach is making $8-10 million a year. Why shouldn't the players make that as well? So, but what happened with me, I wrote a term term paper about what it's like being black at a predominantly white university, and a professor gave my my paper to a reporter who was doing a story on racism. He was a white reporter. He was married to a black woman. He was doing a story on racism. So he pretty much gave my paper to the professor. Professor gave my paper to the reporter, and they kind of used me as a scapegoat to do whatever they were trying to. I think the professor at the time wasn't going to get tenure, so he used me as something to drum up, a problem for Auburn to have, since he wasn't allowed to get tenure. So not backing away from the situation, but more so, I had a promise my grandmother before she died that I was going to get my college degree. So in that promise, I had been told over the years that the different coaches, academic counselors, and different people would tell them to flunk me, and I'm like, "Why? I'm doing great. I'm married. I'm trying to do the right thing by the university. Why are they trying to flunk me?" But for some reason, they had a problem with the fact that I was married and had a family and was trying to do the right thing, going to class, going to school. So fast forward, the teacher failed me. I just gotten drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. The teacher failed me in my class, and but more important, I wasn't worried about getting drafted. I was worried about the fact that I promised my grandmother I'll get my college degree, and so that was more important than anything for me at that time. And then when she failed me, she tried to make it like I was trying to harm her and everything. It was just a bad situation. And so I told the guy who had did the interview to go ahead and print the story about, I felt like Auburn was condescending to the black. And so next thing I know, I go to bed. Next morning, this big story comes out. Like I said, I just got drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. This huge story comes out, and then I'm off to trying to explain. Oh no, I'm about to go to Kansas City. I got drafted. I don't need to deal with this Auburn situation. But in reality, I really had to deal with it because I had put it out there. So as a man, I needed to tell the real reason and the story behind it. But with a lot of things, they didn't give me an opportunity to do that. So everybody just said I was mad because I didn't get drafted higher, this and that. I mean, just everything you can think of in order to vilify me and make me become the victim. I mean, make me become the agitator. They did that, and so in doing so, I felt it was unfair. And so I didn't tell the whole story. And the whole story that I had tape conversation of them treating me a certain way. And all the things I said earlier, I had that on tape. I had 3 or 4 years worth of tape. So after I went to Kansas City and felt like I was blackballed, this same reporter came to me and said, "Well, tell us the rest of the story." And that being said, I gave them the 3 years of tapes and they had them authenticated. And Auburn, of course, said I was lying, and which I wasn't, and it was proved that I wasn't lying. And then that's when the next story came out. And the next thing you know, I was talking to Ed Bradley on 60 Minutes. Bless him, rest in peace, Ed. And then after that, I was testifying before Congress about injustice in college athletics. So that's pretty much
it. Talk about adversity, right? Yeah. I mean, adversity. Now, you were about to get drafted in the NFL.
I did get drafted.
In Kansas, correct?
Kansas City Chiefs.
And so because of all this happening at Auburn, now how did that happen? So they were they didn't go forth with it for a reason, or how did that part work?
Well, what happened was I went from 4th string to 2nd string to getting cut. On the same day, I was told I was going to make the team by Marty Schottenheimer, who was then head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then they said they were going to put me on the practice squad, but that never materialized. But the main thing that I took from it was that the first thing out of their mouth, they said, "Well, it don't have anything to do with Auburn." And my point was, I never said it had anything to do with Auburn, so why are we even talking about that?
Right.
So
you knew.
Yeah.
So we knew that it had to do with that. But then before we know it had to do with Auburn, we really knew that it was the footsteps that really God had for you. And what I like to say is, because when you look at the adversity, and then also look at you as a young man, how you had your priorities so in mind, knowing what was most important was family first. I mean, like he said, what was more important to him was keeping an oath that he had made with his grandmother to graduate from college. And that was more important to him than being drafted into the football league. Now that's very powerful, especially when you look at today, society today is really about the fame, the fortune, the money, but really, where are the values of our youth? Why are they not choosing these things and understanding that the family value is more important? And like you said, I see the average, adversity that you dealt with, the challenges that you were dealing with because you were doing everything right. You were married at a young age. You had your child.
After I was married.
Hey, that's even better. And he's doing these things because you know what? Grandma's green. So let me tell you, my grandma, said, "Did she make green?"
My grandma made everything.
I know she did. Some sweet potato pie.
Right.
I know it's so good. Praise God. I'm hungry right now. But and these things are so important. And I believe like making these kind of choices in the beginning of your life and being a strong man and saying, you know what, this is wrong. Now, I watched some of the videos and I thought this was really cute, and I'm going to tell you this is very powerful when you think about how I talked to you guys about us making choices in challenging and testing and trialing times is really what shows what's in us. When something comes up against you and you have to make a choice, or you can have the fear because you're afraid that you might lose something. You might make this choice because you want something, and you have to compromise by getting it, but saying that, hey, I'm not going to compromise. I'm gonna just do what it is. Now, I watched one of your videos and it was so cute. I loved it because he was talking about, he was like, now let me tell you, the recorders back then, those recorders was not the recorders that we have today.
Exactly.
So he was talking.
5 years.
Yeah, tell us about that recorder and where you, in every place they showed you was hiding the recorder.
Oh, when I said I put it down my face. Hey, I was trying not to get caught.
He didn't have an iPhone, okay?
I had one of those voice activated tapes where you just, you put it down in my tights that you had to wear under my football uniform.
Right.
And that's the only way I can put it. That's the only place I can put it without getting caught.
Without sitting on it. And the funny thing is, you can hear it clearly. So it was a good one, okay? It was a really good one. But what I also love about it is that when the guy said to you, he told on everybody. He told on everybody. He said, look, everybody was on there. Okay, you going to keep it quiet? Yeah, I'm going to keep it quiet. He was like doing all that, right? And then at the end, the guy said, okay, now you done told on everybody. But what about you? Don't you think you did something wrong? You was taking the money. Aren't you just, being a part of the system too? And what did you tell him, Eric?
I told him, I said, the system. I told him the system was already corrupt before I got there. And I said, but as a 22-year-old, I said, why not take the money? But what I should have explained was that, that we as athletes and everything, we should be compensated for all the hard work that we put out, in order to make a team successful, and the injury and the danger that we risk, breaking necks, breaking legs, and everything like that. That's what I should have explained, but I didn't know that he was going to catch me off guard like that.
He did. He got you too.
Yeah, he got me. That's why I had that little smirk. Because he got me, but the thing about the awesome thing about Ed Bradley is that he did tell me that. He had to, show both sides, and I just feel like, he was pro-Eric, which,
right.
The whole reason that they interviewed me was because they wanted the truth to come out, and that was my whole thing. I wasn't any more guilty as they were, but I was I took the money, which was technically against NCAA rules, but at the same time, when I testified before Congress, I truly felt that, and still feel that, the athletes should get paid for their hard work.
But then it was one thing he did not mention. Let me tell you, he did. He admitted it. Okay. And you know what, everybody, hold on 1 second. Can you get the cord, please? I'm sorry, babe. He did admit that he did wrong. Okay. So this is what I'm saying about adversity. When you can go through something, and you can go through a trial, and you can go through all this and be on television, be a young man, and someone tells you, look, you know what? you have done something that is wrong, and you sit there and say, you're right. And that was more powerful than anything, is that it was admitted that he did something wrong. And this is what I want to just make clear to people out there, is that even in this young age, that he took the initiative to stand in adversity, to stand in storms, to stand in things that was not to his advantage, and make some kind of movement to say, you know what, something needs to be changed. And if we have these same values today, even that's just one person. Just imagine when you come together. I mean, because this man had a family. So it's like, you know what, hey, everybody else is getting paid. Hey, you know, and that's why I'm saying, too, the system, we want to talk about the system as well. But hey, well, that's the system. The system is corrupt. Why shouldn't I, if everybody else getting paid, well, let me get some too. You know what? Right. I mean, I got a family, and then you wasn't even getting much. It's a lot of them. A lot of them was getting thousands of dollars.
Yeah, they like my cousin said in the interview, they were getting paid. I was just trying to keep up because, like I said, I did have a wife and a child, and I just felt like, you know, if you're gonna pay these guys to do whatever they're doing, then I need to be compensated as well, because I'm giving just as much effort, if not more, than they were.
And then I also noticed another skill you had. Yes. Negotiation. I mean, this man was good. You got to go see some of the tapes, because they were good. I mean, at 21, I was like, gosh, man, he's going to be a great business guy. You know what I'm saying? Because he was calling, he's like, you know what? You know, I need $200. You know, I need $400. Well, didn't Chief so-and-so give, you know, didn't the other guy give you that? Yeah, but I use that money on rent, man. I got to pay my car bill. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, I mean, at a young age, I mean, you were so mature in how you was handling that. You know, and then he had his wife at that time sitting there looking all cute in her little purple outfit, purple rain, right? And she was just sitting there like, yes, you know, just looking at you, you know. But I love it that, like I said, just back then, and we're going to take that and go into where you are today. So can you tell us some of the things that you know, really implanted in you, losing your grandma, which was a very, very, I'm sure something changed in you,
right? Something
sparked in you, something driven you. Can you talk about where that brought you, you know, that whole scenario with that happening to now?
Well, after my grandmother died, you know, I promised her I'd get my degree. Subsequently, my mother died of uterine cancer. My brother got shot and killed before my mother died, and then I pretty much got moved to D.C., Maryland. And after we moved to D.C., Maryland, the marriage dissolved from my first marriage, you know, with my wife and son. So after that happened, people kept telling me that. They kept saying I had a model look, and I'm like, what the heck is a model look? You know? And so I took an opportunity, and I went to an audition, and the guy said, we're going to pay you $200 an hour for this job. And I said, okay, I know what that model look is.
I got you, right?
And so I started doing that, but that was a burning desire to do more. And so in 2005, I moved to California. And when I got here to California, I had written a script called A Promise to Grandma. The Promise to Grandma is still technically based on that promise I made to my grandmother that I would get my college degree. And so, but being here, a lot of my friends who were in the industry, they kept saying that they're not being included in movies. They can't get opportunity to be in movies. And so what I did was I started, writing my own movies and then and producing. Man, a good friend of mine named Scott Evans, we started, writing and producing movies. He was directing, I was executive producing, and produce them and write them with him. And so we started doing that, and we formed a company called Jabari Rashad Entertainment. Jabari is his son's name, and Rashad was my son's middle name. So, excuse me, in doing that, excuse me, in doing that, we continue to grow. No worries. Can I continue? Keep talking.
Sure.
Oh, and doing that, we continue to grow, and then I made a movie called Unspeakable Indiscretions, which I started producing, directing, and I wrote, and then subsequently I did a movie called Cannibal, and then at present we have a movie out now called Old Bryce, and that's about this place in Alabama where these two doctors decided that they want to find a cure for white mental illness, and by finding a cure, they decided to use black men as do lobotomies on them and perform lobotomies on them in order to find this cure. And so that's where I'm at now, and we're along with my wife Nicole.
Yay!
Nicole.
That's the
Nicole
good
Ramsey.
news right there.
we're Team Ramsey Entertainment, and literally Team Ramsey Entertainment now, because we are partners and we are married.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing now.
And that is the good news that we have, is that he just got married. All right. And what day was that you got married?
November the 4th. I better remember it, right?
Yeah, you early. I mean, goodness gracious, you forget it now. It's like old timers. So oh my gosh, and your beautiful, beautiful wife, I hope, and she wasn't able to make it, but I definitely want to get you guys on mashed potatoes.
We'll do that.
Yes, because it's all about relationships.
That's right.
It's all about relationships, and it's nothing like getting to a new relationship and going through the things you are and working together now. And I'm sure the audience would love to hear it. But I just want them to know, too, like he said, like he went into the modeling. You went from NFL. God had another path for you.
That's right.
You went into the modeling and so forth. And now you doing your movies.
Oh,
okay.
I had a stint in acting, too, but I realized that I love writing, producing, directing more.
Okay. And so name some of the movies that you've done so far.
I've done a movie called Unspeakable Indiscretion. It describes these four brothers who were molested as kids by their uncle. And they all grew to be successful athletes, but one brother don't know whether or not he wants to be gay or straight, and so he's dealing with that, as well as the other dynamics with the brothers and what they're going through. Then we did a movie called Cannibal, like Cain and Abel, but one word Cannibal, and it's a modern day version of the biblical story, Cain and Abel. And then right now at present, we have a movie called Old Bryce. I'm sorry. You can find Cannibal. It's actually it's on Amazon Prime right now. And then we're going through the distribution process for the new movie Old Bryce. Old Bryce, as I said earlier, it's about these two doctors white doctors who was trying to find a cure for white mental illness by doing lobotomies on blacks.
Yeah, and you guys go and check out the trailer on that. I mean, it's a fabulous movie, and I definitely. Are you guys used to going to distribution? Are you guys going to have any type of special event for that?
We had a screening back in August with Bryce, and then we actually 3 weeks ago we took it to South Carolina and then to Dr. Marvin's hometown in North Carolina.
Oh, so you guys traveling? Taking it to different
places? Well, we're taking it to if they want us to bring it, we're taking it to them.
Okay. Well, can you bring it over here because we want to see it?
Well, I can show you a copy of it. Unless, like I said, if we do show it again, we will have to have a real screening where we can attract people to come. We don't have a problem with doing that, but the only thing about it is that it costs a lot of money to make the movie. So we definitely won't just show it just to be showing it, No,
so we're going to support this because let me tell you, this is some piece of news you want to see. You want to see this movie. Go check it out. It is on YouTube, right? Old Bryce. The trailer. Yes, the trailer. Just the trailer. Let me get a snippet, okay? It is not free. But let me tell you, it's very interesting, and it really is the truth. It's anything that's truth. And what I love about what Eric does is in these movies that he does is substance, is truth, is real, and that's what makes a difference about media. I feel that media needs a transformation. I really think that we who say that we have a heart of a Christian or a godly person, We really need to get truth out there, the truth in history, the truth in the Bibles, the truth in the Word. This is what's going to transform the heart of man, because you become what you eat, you become what you look at. And when you start seeing these things and understanding, like you said, this disease, I seen it, is the syphilis. It wasn't even the Black American, that they call us, disease. It was really of the Caucasian descendants disease, and they were trying to find a cure and start using our brains and healthy people, our people, to find a cure to help them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's that. It's funny. That's two different things, two different tests that they've done. The syphilis experiment, and then O'Brien's is more about the lobotomies. So it's two different things. You're on the right, pace. You're saying the right thing. It's just two different. It's so much they do to us, but you got them all in one. But no, syphilis experiment happened, and then Tuskegee's syphilis experiment, and then O'Brien's. They pretty much happened right after each other in the 60s and 70s and everything.
Right. And if you know too, if you like to get out, right, you would like this, because really it's all about the same thing. And like I would like to reiterate is that the movies that he does, and I like the group of the people, of us to come together, the body of one to come together, people helping people and getting these movies out, to get them out there, not only for ourselves, but for the youth. I mean, so they can understand why things are the way they are, the transformation of how things are. Let them know your stories. Just like Eric, how his story was, how he has a good example for our youth out there to know, you know what, in these days, you have what it takes to be great, to stand for something that means something, to make transformation on this earth. And you know what? The transformation that we're going to make these days is really for our inner world, because the world outside of us is always going to be the way it is, and it's going to get worse, because that is prophecy. But the only true world is the inner self, the kingdom within. That's the only thing that we can transform. And it starts with what you feed your mind, what you feed your spirit, what you allow your eyes to look upon. So if you're looking at drama and trash and cussing and hating and all this stuff on TV, that's what you subject yourself about. Because a lot of people, I've talked to many people, they think they're strong. It's okay to watch that, and they're watching this mess. They're watching soap operas. They're watching hip hop this, and and thinking they're cool, but they're actually living that world. Now, what actually pushed you or made you these are the kind of movies that I would like to get out there?
Probably because they wasn't out there. You refer to it as Get Out. I like to call it O'Brien's Get Out and Keep Going. Right. and just trying to, I spoke about it earlier. When I was 6 years old, I was molested once, by a family member. And so that's part of the reason that I did Unspeakable Indiscretion, because I wanted people to know that it does happen in the Black community, and Black men touch Black boys a lot, and a lot of times, because of the shame of and embarrassment of it, we don't want to talk about it. And so, and I did Cannibal, just because it's a faith-based movie, and based on my beliefs and my religion, I wanted to have a movie like that. So the main thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a movie that's going to either be faith-based, or a movie that's going to challenge you or make you think about what's going on in and around you.
And that is so necessary, Eric, that you said, because these are the things that we need to talk about. And that's how the enemy is. He wants us to hide things within ourselves and feel ashamed. And when you look at that, I think about Adam and Eve. What they did, they were ashamed. And what did they do? They hid themselves, and it's time for us to be transparent, to, because the things we've gone through is really there to actually allow us to be conquerors, or to be a bridge for someone else, not be ashamed. There's many, trust me, out there have been molested by men or women. And usually it's your family members. Somebody you know. And my mom, she would always say, she said, Satan is a pedophile.
Wow.
He is a pedophile, and he starts with young ages, and that's why you get a lot of people not knowing what their sex are. You got people that's promiscuous. It can make the mind go any way. You can become a homosexual, or you can actually become someone who has sex with a lot of men or women because you have been violated. And because if you look at the Bible, a lot of that was scorned back then, because if you did that, you were going to be stoned to death.
That's right.
They did not play that. And normally it was like us women coming from our dad's house to our husband's house, and we were virgins back then. So just understanding this pedophileness and really a lot of things that's going on today about the sex scandals and all this is going around the world. And you're like, what's going on right now? The reason why these things are going on, because they always was going on from the beginning of time. They're just, what God said, what you do in the dark is going to come to the light.
And the history just repeats itself. It's the same cycle that's been said that's going to happen. Like I told you earlier when we spoke about when people got all upset in the arms about the same-sex bill passing. I'm like, what are you upset about?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're homosexual or something. I don't understand what you're angry about. This too was prophesied to happen, just like everything else that you've seen that happened. It's in the Bible. If you read it, and that this too is bound to happen. So I don't get upset like the whole Donald Trump thing. Donald Trump hasn't fazed me one bit, because at the end of the day, I create my own reality, and I don't worry about nobody else, making my life what it is. I'm the ruler, and other than God, I'm the person that's in charge of my life.
Right, and I like what you said too. It's about you can't get caught up in the world, because God said, "Greater is He that's in us than him that's in the world," and that's why you have to renew your mind on a daily basis. And He said, "Think on those things that are pure, good, lovely, and of good report." Does Trump equal any of those?
No.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that should tell you right there. We say we know the word, we know these things, but then we're not living them, or we're not keeping the instruction of them, And like you said, you're not even thinking about those things. You're in a whole nother lane. You're in a whole, that's what God said, I'll give you a peace that, passes all understanding, because you're in a place where my eyes is directly on Him. And you're focused on what you're doing, your kingdom work here, so that work can be done. Because everything is actually happening for a reason. Like He said, Babylon is going to fall. Babylon, that is prophecy. So, how people say, let's make this a better world. Well, I don't know which world you're talking about, but this definitely is not going to be the one. He said He's going to make a new heaven and a new earth. And the kingdom of God, that's the only place. The kingdom within is what we need to be working on self and understanding as we work on self and we come together as the body of one, that we can bring that love and unity of power together.
Amen. That's right. I mean, I agree with everything you said.
Yes, and I'm just so happy that we have a brother here that can really show the people, throughout his life, what it is to be true, to be honest, to go through adversity and trials and tests and take the penalty if it had to be a penalty. What 22-year-old did would come out, and especially in the day, not to say that was a long. No, just kidding.
Put it on.
No, time ago, like yesterday.
Look, my son was 3 then, and he almost will be 30 his next birthday. So.
What? Okay, see, that wasn't that long ago. And but the point is that even back then, when racism was even a little, well, I couldn't even say it's stronger than or that. It's just a little bit covered up. But you know what I mean?
We don't know now. It may be worse now.
It could be worse now. But when you look at the tapes, you can just see this, one Black African American, and all these 4 or 5, all these people were like white Caucasian men, and he telling on them, like, they stole all the candy. You know what I'm saying? He was telling on all of them as a young man, and these are grown men. And I'm saying that this is the kind of spirit in love. Now, you can't just do this any kind of way. You have to use wisdom, but how God covers you, and how your that heart of love that you have for your grandmother, molded the way for you to want to do the right things and continue to do the right things. And like he said, we all sin and have come short, but we don't use grace as something to be a mediocre life. We use it to get back up and turn away from that sin and do better. Now, is there anything that you would like to tell, them, and the youth out there, what they can do to, get themselves to be one and strong and make these kind of choices in the midst of, in adversity, and know that God is really going to take care of and never fail them?
Well, one thing that I do, that I practice for a long time, I quote scripture. And one piece of scripture that I love to quote is first chapter of James. And if you give me the time, I want to recite it. And it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking in anything. If any one of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. But when he asks, he must believe and not doubt, because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That man should not think he receive anything from the Lord. He's a double-minded man, unstable in all he does. The brother in humble circumstances ought to take pride in his high position, but the one who's rich should take takes in his low position, because he will pass away like a wild flower. For the sun rises with scorching heat and withers the plant. Its blossom falls and its beauty is destroyed. In the same way, the rich man will fade away even while he goes about his business. Blessed is the man who perseveres under trial, because when he has stood the test, he will see the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. When tempted, no one should say, God has tempted me, for God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone with evil. But each one is tempted when by his own evil desire he's dragged away and enticed. Then if desire to deceive, it give birth to sin, and sin when it's full grown to give birth to death. Do not be deceived, my dear brothers. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we may be a kind of first fruits for all that he created. So I recite that along with the 27 Psalms. Pretty much I've done it since I was 18 or younger. And I just follow that principle and listen to it and know that, I'm blessed. I'm blessed, as they say, blessed and highly favored. And you guys are blessed and highly favored. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And just know that what you believe in and what you're doing, if you got God involved in it, nine times out of 9 times, or 10 times out of 10 times, it's usually gonna come out right. You just got to continue to believe and know your purpose. And if you know your purpose, pretty much everything's gonna work out. I don't worry about financial things. I don't worry about what's happening to me. I don't worry about the attacks from the enemy. I just do me, because I know that one day I'm gonna have to give an account, regardless of whatever is going on, and to God and not to man. And so that's what I truly believe in, and that's what I've always patterned myself behind, and that's why I continue to be successful in all the different things that I try to do, whether or not it be acting, modeling, writing, producing, directing. I'm able to do those things because I have the confidence, and I believe that God's going to take care of me, see me through everything that I seek out to do.
All right. Okay. Now, what chapter was that? Now, so you guys get the pencils out. Okay.
That was James, and the first verse through the 35th verses. I kind of got stomach because I was trying to say it a little too fast.
That just means that it was for them to go get that part, get that Bible. Them little words you couldn't get, now you can read the whole thing. It's James 1
through 35.
Through James 1, chapter 1?
Yeah.
Chapter 1, 1 through 35. Let me tell you, he said he started reading this at a young age. And that really covered everything. And this is something that we need. We have to be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the works of God, meaning that when Christ stood on the waters, he said to the waters, peace be still. And you have the power to do that. You have greatness inside you. I want to thank you for allowing me this moment to come on here and talk about all the great things that you're doing. I'm so excited. Your beautiful wife, Nicole. I am looking forward to seeing you, girl, and I want to see you on mashed potatoes. I wish to see you tonight, but you look so beautiful. I want you to go to Eric's page and look at his beautiful, beautiful bride. And also, why don't you tell them how they can contact you or, so forth, your information so they can check out your new movie coming.
Okay, so you guys, I have several social media. You can email me first and foremost at teamramseyentertainment@gmail.com. That's Team Ramsey Entertainment, all one word, @gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Eric the Ramster. That's Eric the Ramster. Same way on Twitter. I Twitter, but I don't tweet. But you can find me at Eric the Ramster on Twitter as well. And then my regular email is modelramsey@yahoo.com. And then we have a page, a Team Ramsey Entertainment page on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for definitely, Pamela, for inviting me to come on this show. I just, I feel blessed to be here, and I really feel the anointing. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was Eric Ramsey in the house. Oh my gosh, I am so excited about what the Father is doing through his great people doing the kingdom work, and I'm excited. And like I said, you like all the things that he's giving you as far as the scripture is concerned, understanding the story. I do pray to God that him and his wife do come and do mashed potatoes.
We're there.
All right, and I look forward because it's important about love and relationships and understanding, how to know the right person and what it takes to get all mashed and get all seasoned. You know what I'm saying? And then we got them from the beginning. All right, they just got married, so then we get to get the beginning with the hard potatoes and then find out about the mash. We'll call them back maybe 4 years from now. We're going to see how mashed they are. So they can tell us all the processes and everything that we need to know to be successful in our marriage. Are you going to take that year off like the Bible said? Ooh, I'm telling Daddy. You know what I'm saying? Just like he told on there, and I'm telling on him. But anyway, know this, that you have greatness inside of you. And never have no fear, for God said there is no fear in perfect love. And we are to walk in the love of God. We are soldiers. Do not compromise the laws of God. Do not compromise doing the work of God. If you love him, keep his commandments, for he said his commandments are true. They are not grievance. Stand strong. Soldier up. King up. Queen up. Let's do this kingdom work. And again, thank you for rocking with Zion, because there's only one way to the rock, and that's Yeshua Christ.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
Ciao.